Some RPGs are too big, others are too complex. But every now and then you come across a game that does something different. It keeps things simple. In 1999, Silver offered this simplicity, a game that doesn't try to revolutionize the genre, but instead gives players a quick, accessible fantasy adventure with real-time combat and a cinematic touch. I didn't fall in love with Silver, to be honest, but I didn't hate it either. It's one of those rare games that lands squarely in the middle. Not great, not bad, just fine. But sometimes a game like that still deserves to be remembered, especially if you are new to RPGs or just looking for a short, relaxed fantasy journey. Today I would like to introduce you Silver, the RPG, how it plays, how it was received, and whether it's still worth your time today if you love RPGs. Silver was developed by Spiral House, a UK-based studio, and published by Infogrames, one of the big European publishers in the 90s. The game launched in May 1999 for PC and was later ported to the Sega Dreamcast in 2000. It came out during a transitional time for RPGs, when the genre was moving from isometric, menu-heavy gameplay to more action-focused cinematic experiences. Titles like Baldur's Gate, Final Fantasy VIII, and Diablo II were shaping player expectations in different directions. Silver attempted to strike a balance. It borrowed the pre-rendered background style from Final Fantasy VII, combined it with real-time action combat, and kept the overall gameplay much simpler than its contemporaries. On paper, it was a smart move, especially for players who found other RPGs too dense or overwhelming. Critically, the game received mixed reception. PC Gamer UK gave it a 75%, praising its graphics and pacing. IGN gave the Dreamcast version 6.9, criticizing the combat as repetitive and shallow, which I disagree with. Some reviewers appreciated its accessible design and presentation, while others found it too linear and underwhelming. Commercially, Silver didn't make a major impact. It was quickly overshadowed by flashier RPGs and is often forgotten today, even among Dreamcast collectors. The story of Silver is classic high fantasy. Nothing groundbreaking, but okay. The kingdom of Jara is under the rule of the evil sorcerer known as Silver. He's made a pact with dark gods in exchange for power and immortality, and to complete his ritual, he kidnaps women from the land to serve as sacrifices, including your wife. You play as David, a young swordsman who refuses to give in to tyranny and sets out to rescue his wife and stop Silver's reign. From there, the game becomes a globe-trotting journey through a range of fantasy locations, forests, icy mountains, ruined temples, and more. Along the way, David meets and recruits a small cast of allies. These include a gruff old warrior named Icarus, a monk, a sorceress, and others, all likely developed but memorable in their designs. The narrative doesn't go deep into character arcs or philosophical themes. It's very linear and straightforward, and that's honestly part of its charm. It feels like a fantasy movie from the 80s. Think like Beastmaster or Cruel. There's an innocence to the storytelling that makes it enjoyable, especially for younger players or people who don't need deep lore in their RPGs. I have to say that the story started promising. It jumped straight into the middle of things but quickly went very generic. There were no twists and jaw-dropping moments in the story. As I mentioned, it's not bad, it is just okay. What sets Silver apart is its control scheme and combat system. On PC, the game is entirely mouse-driven. Movement, attacking and interacting with the world are done through gestures. Swipe the mouse in a direction and your character swings their sword in that direction. It sounds cool in theory, and it does work, but it can feel awkward and imprecise at times, especially during hectic battles. Combat is real time. You can control only David directly, while your party members fight alongside you with some light AI support. You can issue basic commands like telling them to defend or use spells, but micromanaging them is limited. This keeps the pace fast and easy to manage, but it also means strategy takes a back seat. Boss encounters turns into frantic clicking sessions, especially during boss fights. Magic and items play a role too. Each character can equip spells that you find or earn, and switching them in mid-battle is possible. There's no leveling system in the traditional sense. Your stats improve mainly through equipment upgrades. That might disappoint some hardcore RPG fans, but it also means there is very little grinding. And I have to say this was welcomed by me, as I hate mindless grinding. If you are someone who just wants to jump in and enjoy the story without worrying about maximizing your stats or farming enemies, you're gonna love Silver. Overall, the gameplay is light and accessible. You can finish it around 7 to 8 hours, making it feel more like an action-adventure game with RPG elements than a full-scale epic RPG. From a presentation standpoint, Silver represents what was popular in 1999. The pre-rendered backgrounds are colorful and detailed, giving each location a unique identity. While the environments are static, they are well composed and often give the game a more cinematic look. Character models, though polygonal and a bit stiff by today's standards, have personality and animated decently for their time. The game also features a full voice acting, something that wasn't always standard in PC RPGs of the late 90s. The performances are a mixed bag. Some characters sound like seasoned voice actors, while others not so much. But honestly, the slight cheesiness adds to the game's B-movie fantasy vibe. For me, voice acting added a lot to the experience and made my gameplay much more enjoyable. The music, composed by Richard Joseph and others, complements the world well. The orchestral-style tracks are subtle, sometimes even melancholic, and never overpower the gameplay. There's a sense of quiet drama in many areas, and it helps establish the game's tone, serious, but never too dark or grim. In most of the games, I'm not paying too much attention to the music, but in the case of Silver, I noticed quite few times that the music is really matched the current setting. And now let's see what are those things that I enjoyed in my playthrough. I call this game a bite-sized RPG. It is short, generally easy, and fun to play. You cannot save everywhere, but you can save very often at specific locations, and this is a big bonus. The save locations were placed where I would save anyway. I enjoy the combat and the special moves, and the variety of magic spells in the game. And now let's see what are those things that I did not enjoy in Silver. There were quite few occasions where I did not speak to someone or use an item at a location. I could not progress the game, and these things haven't been mentioned, so it was a bit annoying. Also, sometimes it is not clear where you're supposed to go next. I know it is very common in older RPGs, but if the game is lightweighted, they should make it easy to follow where you're supposed to go next. So, here's the big question. Is Silver playing today? The answer really depends on what kind of experience you are looking for. If you want a long, deep, character-driven RPG with tough choices and complex systems, Silver probably won't scratch that itch. I correct myself, it won't. But if you want something light, a short, linear fantasy game with real-time combat and charmingly dated visuals, it might be worth your time. It's also a good entry-level RPG for younger players or someone new to the genre. Silver offers a smooth introduction without overwhelming menus or complex mechanics, but still a walkthrough is probably necessary for the reasons I mentioned earlier. It may be remembered as a classic, but that doesn't mean it lacks value. It is not going to be my favorite RPG, but I enjoyed my time with Silver. It represents a specific moment in gaming history, a transitional point between the old school RPGs of the early 90s and the more cinematic, action-oriented games that came after. And for that, I think Silver deserves a quiet round of applause. And what about you? Have you played Silver before? Did you try it back on PC or maybe on the Dreamcast? I'd love to hear your memories or first impressions in the comments below.